Hello.
Okay.
Today we'll be talking about leveraging bot-enabled research to uncover the health habits and beverage opportunities amongst African consumers. My name is Bev Teagot-Bassett. I'm the AVP for Business Development for Borderless Access, based in South Africa.
Hi everyone, my name is Kambe Mwaba and I am the Knowledge and Insights Manager for Coca-Cola Africa, also based in South Africa.
Let's kick off. Technology is changing consumers' everyday life and habits, and these changes, we believe, are here to stay. Our new natural behavior and how we connect with one another is challenging marketers to come up with increasingly creative approaches, and this puts pressure on our research industry to meet a new level of tech-enabled, consumer-centric insights and to deliver these faster. And what we've seen is that since the internet started, no app has been as impactful as WhatsApp in fueling growth of the internet, with its ability to reach right across demographies. The same is true across Africa, where we see that consumers are rapidly moving to digital platforms and they're changing their behavior. And so for our research industry, this means that consumers' needs and values are changing and they're becoming increasingly accessible through technology at every level. And so it's now possible that we can get closer to the moment of consumers' actual behavior, whereas up until now, it's mostly been about looking at past behavior, which consumers might find difficult to remember. And this is relevant because a year ago, South Africa was still the 7th to last country in the world reliant on face-to-face research, after Pakistan, that is. And this reliance on legacy research saw that this continent was the hardest hit during the COVID crisis, with the industry claiming a shrinkage of over 40%, despite the ready availability of online research panels and innovative technology solutions. And as a global technology-enabled business, insights business ourselves, what we do is we access consumers in ways that matter now, how they're behaving now. And during the pandemic, we saw consumers becoming active and shifting behavior across all our online platforms. And locally, we're seeing encouraging results in how our tech-enabled solutions are helping our research clients to deliver superior results. Take this example across snacks, a category which, by the way, is growing. However, legacy catty solutions and in-home consumption audits were showing declining trends. The online solution that we implemented showed that a higher percentage of snacking actually occurs on the go and out of the home when compared to the previous catty solution. And we were also able to geolocate these behaviors. And in our in-app consumption and purchase tracking, which shows a 360-degree view of both in and out-of-home behaviors, we saw a holistic picture and there was no element of purchase or consumption that was left out of the data picture. And so this was one tracker that definitely didn't stop during COVID. So today, what we'd like to do is to share how we're going even further, and we're using bot-enabled research to humanize our research approach. What we do is we link our approved online panelists to WhatsApp bot-enabled technology, and this enables the collection of both explanatory and rich exploratory insights, while at the same time creating a better and highly engaging experience for the respondent. And this helps to improve the quality of the outcome. And in recent weeks, together with Coca-Cola, we conducted a study across Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. And at this time, I'd like to hand over to Kambe Mwaba, Knowledge and Insights Manager for Coca-Cola.
Thank you so much, Bev. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be taking you through the chatbot pilot that Coca-Cola Africa conducted with Borderless Access. So over the last few years, the Coca-Cola company has been evolving its business strategy to being a total beverage company, which gives consumers over 400 brands to choose from, including low and no sugar options. Now, building a portfolio of consumer-centric brands requires us to constantly meet people's changing needs and tastes, as quoted by our company president, James Quincy. And research is no different and needs us to constantly evolve so that brands can keep their fingers on the pulse and stay one step ahead of the trends. And there's been no greater time to understand how our consumers are feeling and how their needs are changing than this point right now in history. We have been tracking the COVID-19 pandemic very closely internally and noted that there has been a shift to more health-conscious behaviors and people actively trying to change their to healthier habits. However, beyond the current pandemic time, we want to know which trends will continue into the new normal and how it would impact future beverage consumption, particularly of diet soft drinks, which play in the somewhat healthier space. So this led us to the case study that we'll review today, which involved us partnering with Borderless Access to pilot a brand new data collection technique. The method consisted of chatbot-enabled virtual interviews via WhatsApp and deployed to Borderless Access's panelists. The interviews were conducted in 3 of our key sub-Saharan African markets, being Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, and we spoke to males and females over the age of 18. From the survey, we received over 900 responses in just under a week. And what was also very interesting about this approach is that it allowed us to have a dual quali-quant method. So on the quant side, we had 12 closed-ended questions where respondents could send a numeric answer to the questions that came up, as Bev showed us in the demo earlier. And then on the qual side, we asked respondents open-ended questions where they could send various content. And the respondents really engaged with this. And, we received over 1,000 photos, almost 100 videos, as well as a handful of audio files. So all the pictures and videos that you'll see in the upcoming slides were sent to us directly from the respondents themselves via WhatsApp. So that is it for the research context. Let's now take a look at some of the highlights from the health habits data that we received. So overall, the majority of respondents indicated the importance of being healthy and fit in general, particularly in Nigeria and Kenya, where over 90% mentioned that this was very important to them. And this was reflected in behavior, where on average, 80% claimed that they always or often eat healthily or exercise, and with a strong emphasis on the word claimed. Health has become even more important to people on the continent since the onset of the pandemic, with 70% mentioning that they changed their health or fitness regime in the last 6 months since the onset of the pandemic. In terms of the exact measures being taken, we saw that across all 3 countries, eating more fruit and vegetables came through as the key driver, as well as drinking more water. Exercising came in 3rd place for Kenya and Nigeria, whereas in South Africa, it was more around having home-cooked food, which ties in with the very strict lockdown measures that were put in place, which saw the closures of restaurants and fast food outlets during the early stages of lockdown. Here is some of the content we received from respondents via WhatsApp. We see that home workouts were quite prevalent due to the closures of gyms and people generally wanting to social distance. And we also received lots of pictures of plates full of lots of veggies and fruit. And I think what was also really interesting to see, as shown by the videos, were how creative people got, using whatever they could find at home, from toilet roll paper to spare tires in the garage, anything on hand that could help them keep in shape. Moving from what people were doing to what they plan to do, we see that most consumers intend to keep the health habits that they developed during the pandemic time. We specifically see, for instance, that almost 50% said that they reduced their sugar intake, and out of those, 82% plan to continue this habit in future. And this has positive implications for our diet soft drink beverages, which place an emphasis on reducing sugar. So now let's look specifically at how people feel about diet soft drinks and how open they are to consuming them in future. So looking at the data, we saw that 1/3 of African consumers claim to drink diet sodas on a monthly basis. while over half would consider drinking them in future, we see that negative or neutral sentiments would need to be overcome, particularly in markets like South Africa, where this was the majority of sentiment. We also wanted to see now how the sentiment differs by different consumer segment groups. Starting with age, we see that diet sodas seem to have a more positive health perception amongst our younger consumers. And this ties in with what we know, that generally older consumers have more firmly entrenched habits and beliefs that are harder to change. Looking at the health habits data, we see that consumers who mentioned that they changed their health habits during COVID, which was about 70% of the consumers, were more likely to have more positive sentiment towards diet sodas than ones who didn't change their health habits. And so we as a business would have a likely easier opportunity to develop new rituals and leverage the openness of younger consumers who are already more open, as well as those who are more health conscious with potentially new initiatives or campaigns around diet sodas. Okay, so aside from overall health perceptions, we wanted to understand further what are the barriers for considering diet sodas. So let's hear in consumers' own words what these are.
I'm not a big fan of diet or zero sugar because I feel they also have their own implications. But still, I don't have issue with them. I take them once in a while.
According to me, either the diet soda or the regular soda have the same effect.
I don't need to go on a diet, and I love my sugar.
Well, for me, I don't like sodas or fizzy drinks. Why? Because of the gas, it makes me bloated, and I still feel it still has enough sugar to be harmful to your body. That's what I feel. So I don't take. I've stopped taking fizzy drinks.
Zero sugar beverages are not good for our health because they have some acid in them.
I really hate Diet Coke. I just don't drink it at all. I love my Coke. I don't like Coke Light, Coke Zero, or whatsoever.
So as we heard in the video clips and also see in the data, intrinsic perceptions around taste, as well as concerns around artificial sweeteners, are the key reasons why consumers don't consider drinking diet sodas. However, on a less functional basis, we also see important mentions come through in the data about having just a general lack of interest, and negative social perceptions are also key barriers, with almost 40% mentioning this across the markets. So we heard, for example, in the videos, people saying that it's for people with health issues or for people on a diet, and they generally just don't see them as socially acceptable. So this suggests to us that it's more a power in the mind job that needs to be done for soft drinks to change perceptions. So on the flip side to this, we also wanted to understand what is driving consumers who do drink or would consider drinking diet or zero sugar sodas. And once again, we have some video clips to hear in their own words.
Diet Coke, zero sugar. It's a very good drink. Yeah, it's a very good soft drink that can be taken by even those who are diabetic. So it's very good. Thank you.
I feel positive about taking diet cola because it's a healthy drink, because of its low sugar content and it's good for health. Thanks.
Hi, I feel that these soft drink manufacturers introduced sugar-free carbonated drinks as a way of introducing us to a healthier way of living, and by us watching what we eat and decreasing the level of sugar intake in our lives.
really do prefer 0% sugar cold drinks because we tend to get too much sugar in our cold drinks at times, and sometimes we just need to tone it down a little bit. So I like them a lot.
So we therefore see that consumers are considering diet sodas mainly to reduce their sugar intake or avoid developing health issues such as diabetes. We also see some promising mentions of taste coming through the data, with 32% of respondents saying that they like the taste in Nigeria, and 25% of Kenyans saying that they think they taste actually the same as regular soft drinks. However, given the barriers that we saw earlier, we do acknowledge that it may be more difficult to convince consumers to drink diet sodas based purely on intrinsic factors. What was interesting to see, however, was over 25% mentioning a balanced diet as a key reason why they considered drinking them. And we noted that this could be a unique opportunity to frame diet sodas as contributing to an overall balanced lifestyle. And this is supported in where we see consumers placing diet sodas compared to other beverages on a health spectrum, from less healthy on the left-hand side up until more healthy on the top right. We see diet sodas sitting roughly in the middle in terms of overall health perceptions, which literally and figuratively speaks to this concept of balance. So those are the key highlights that came through from this pilot study. I wanted to close off with some thought starters for how we as a business could start applying these learnings for going forward. So a key insight that we gained today was that taste and sugar perceptions are not the only barriers to drinking diet sodas. And there's an important mind shift that needs to happen to overcome the lack of interest or negative social perceptions. So the question for us is, how can we identify ways to build those positive associations away from some of the negative health issues that often are attributed to them? We also picked up that from the data that diet sodas have medium health perceptions, and maintaining a balanced diet is a driver of consideration. So perhaps down the road, there is an opportunity to leverage this concept of balance. Finally, we saw that teens and young adults tend to be more open-minded and positive. So how can we translate this positivity into actual habits and entrench rituals and behavior for future generations? So these were the overall thought starters for the business. We are busy working on our future strategic plans, so please watch this space. And I will now hand over to Bev to close us out.
Thanks, Kambe. So what we've seen today is that bot-enabled research can indeed humanize the research approach. Consumers are naturally digitally engaged, and this makes the approach unintrusive, helping to bring the beauty of the information that we saw in today's presentation by Kambe to and what consumers are doing and saying to life. So what Kambe's presentation showed us was that this is a better and highly engaging experience for the consumer. This is a faster way of getting both exploratory and explanatory insights. The technology can help us to get more dynamic, deeper and validated insights. And also the rich real-time context through text, image and voice really helps to bring even hard to reach consumers directly to the brand. And so in closing, what we're seeing is that this is not simply about technology for the sake of disruption, but rather we believe it's a pivotal juncture for the research industry across Africa to become more consumer-centric, to leverage technology solutions to reach available consumers digitally, and to use expertise to mine the rich insights that consumers have such a great willingness to share. And that concludes the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.